Welcome back to Mindful Health Harbor. Today, we're diving deep into motivation.
Ooh, motivation.
We all want more of it, right? We
Yeah,
set these big
for
goals,
sure.
we make resolutions, but then life kind of happens.
Hmm.
And those goals, you know,
Yeah.
they start to feel about as achievable as climbing Mount Everest
Huh?
in flip-flops, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
And we had some really interesting insights from Dr. K
Oh, yeah, Dr. K.
from Mel Robbins' podcast.
He really brings a fresh perspective.
He does.
Like, I just love listening to him. He's
Yeah.
a Harvard-trained psychiatrist,
Wow.
and he specializes in motivation and how technology impacts our brains.
Really interesting.
Yeah, he studied everything from integrative health to Ayurvedic mental health
Really?
for over 20 years.
Wow.
And he co-founded Healthy Gamer, which
Mhm.
is a platform that helps people tackle tech addiction
Oh, wow.
and find mental well-being in this digital world we're living in.
Yeah, it's such a challenge,
Huge challenge.
especially now.
Yeah, and he has a popular YouTube channel and he's authored a book.
So he knows what he's talking about.
He does, he really does.
And one of the things he said that I thought was so interesting was he said the biggest myth about motivation is that we need to increase it.
Okay.
And I was like, what,
What do you mean?
because we're always trying to find more motivation.
Yeah, we are always trying to pump it up. We get more motivation.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, no, we have tons of motivation.
He argues that we're already incredibly motivated. We just might not be motivated in the direction that we want to be.
Right. So maybe it's not about finding more motivation, but maybe it's about directing the motivation
Yes, absolutely.
that we already have.
It's like we're already driving a really powerful car,
Okay.
but we're just not steering it in the right direction.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so how do we do that? How do we,
Right.
steer the car?
Well, he uses a really compelling example from his own life, video game addiction.
Hmm.
He shares his story of how he was super into video games.
Yeah. And he was so motivated to play these games for hours on end
Wow.
that he even failed college because of it.
No.
But you see, the thing is, the motivation was definitely there. It was just directed towards escaping his reality.
Escaping his reality.
Yeah, he was getting those good vibes from the game
Right.
instead of focusing on those academic goals.
Oh, so it sounds like maybe even sometimes our negative habits or behaviors are fueled by a strong motivational force.
That's exactly it. He says we often mistake motivation for this feeling, this like inspiration or energy that's supposed to push us to do something.
Oh, right.
But if we only take action when we feel that motivation high, we're kind of letting our desires run the show.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of thinking of it as a feeling, he's thinking of it more as this force
Yes, for us.
that's always at play, whether we're aware of it or not.
Exactly. It's about understanding those forces, the conscious ones and the unconscious ones,
Yeah.
that drive our actions or even our inaction.
So that's really interesting. So if we're only acting when we feel motivated, does that mean that our wants are in control?
Pretty much, yeah. And that's why so many of us end up feeling stuck.
Stuck.
Yeah, we're constantly chasing after what feels good in the moment, even if it means putting off those really important tasks
Right.
or just avoiding situations that make us a little uncomfortable.
Right. It's almost like we're trapped in this cycle
Mm-hmm.
of seeking pleasure and avoiding pain,
Yeah.
even when logically we know that certain actions would be good for us, in the long run.
Right. He calls this the pleasure pain trap.
Oh, the pleasure pain trap.
Yeah, and he makes this super interesting connection between addiction and our daily struggles.
Oh,
Think about it. Addictions, they hook us, right?
yeah.
By giving us all that pleasure and numbing us to the pain.
Hmm.
And in a way, we're always looking for those same patterns in our daily lives.
Interesting.
Like reaching for that sugary snack when we're feeling down or dodging that difficult conversation because it's just too uncomfortable.
too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We all do it.
We'd all do it.
So it's like we're all wired
Yeah.
to seek pleasure
Right.
and avoid pain.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that instinct, it can lead us down a path that's not really serving us.
Not at all.
So then what do we do?
Well, he highlights this other key insight.
Oh.
Our brains are constantly running what he calls an action success calculation.
Action success calculation. What is that?
It's like we have this little mathematician inside our heads
Oh,
constantly weighing the odds of success versus failure for every single action that we're thinking about doing.
Okay, how does that work?
So let's say you're thinking about starting a new workout routine.
Okay,
Your brain immediately jumps into action. It's like, okay, how much effort is this going to take?
right.
Am I going to be sore?
Yeah.
And then it compares all of that to, the results that you might see weeks or even months down the line.
Right. So it's like instant gratification versus delayed gratification.
Exactly. And if the perceived effort is bigger than that potential reward, guess what your brain's going to do?
Tell me to stay on the couch.
Pretty much it's going to try to talk you out of it.
Wow, I know that feeling well.
We all do.
No wonder starting something new can feel so difficult.
It is. It's like our brains are designed to kind of self-sabotage a little bit, looking for the easiest route.
The path of least resistance.
Exactly, even if that means we stay stuck in those comfortable zones.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's like our brains are working against us.
In a way, yeah.
So then how do we break free from this pleasure pain trap?
Right.
And how do we actually start taking those actions that lead to those real lasting changes that we want?
Okay, well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
He brings in this tool from psychotherapy called motivational interviewing.
A motivational interviewing.
Yeah.
What is that?
You might be thinking, what does therapy have to do with my daily struggles?
Yeah, a little bit.
Right, but this technique is all about helping people uncover those internal conflicts that are driving their behavior.
Oh, so it's less about just giving advice
Yeah.
or, those pep talks and more about helping people have those aha moments.
Yes.
And find their own solutions.
Exactly, and it's all about asking the right questions
Oh.
and guiding people to explore their own motivations.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, they're ambivalent.
Ambivalence. What do you mean?
Well, a lot of times it's not that we lack motivation.
Okay.
It's that there's a conflict between what we want and what we're afraid of.
Right. So it's like fear versus desire.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like we're taking a deep dive into our own minds,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's really going on.
This is starting to sound like next level self-awareness.
It is. It is. And the insights that come from that can be incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
He shared this example from his work with addiction.
Hmm.
He said, when someone tells me they want to be sober for a year, I tell them it's impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah, he's like, you can't be sober for a year. You can only be sober today.
That's really interesting because it sounds like at first
Yeah,
he's saying lasting change is impossible.
I know, right?
But I don't think that's what he's saying.
No, not at all. He's actually highlighting this really brilliant shift in perspective.
Okay.
We get so tripped up when we focus on those big, overwhelming goals way out there in the future.
Yeah.
It's like trying to climb a mountain in one giant leap.
Right.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of terrifying.
It is. It is.
So instead, he says, break down those massive goals into smaller steps
Okay.
and focus on the actions you can take right now.
Okay. So instead of saying I'm going to run a marathon this year,
Right.
I'm going to say I'm going to lace up my shoes and go for a 5-minute jog today.
Exactly. And more importantly, he says the first step to consistent action is to anticipate the negative.
Wait, anticipate the negative.
Yes, anticipate the negative.
I thought we were supposed to be focusing on positive affirmations
Right.
and visualizing success.
It seems counterintuitive, I know. But he argues that by acknowledging the discomfort,
Yeah.
the resistance, the potential for setbacks, we're actually setting ourselves up for success.
So instead of pretending that everything is going to be easy,
Right.
we need to be mentally prepared for those inevitable bumps in the road.
Exactly. By acknowledging that it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
We're less likely to get thrown off track when those challenges actually show up.
Right.
We won't be surprised.
Yeah.
And we're less likely to beat ourselves up when we stumble.
It's like we're taking the power away from those negative thoughts.
Yes.
Just by acknowledging them.
Exactly.
And also, are we kind of cultivating a sense of self-compassion then?
You're saying to yourself, hey, it's okay if this is hard. It's okay if I feel some resistance. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means I'm human.
This is such a refreshing take.
It is.
Because I think a lot of times we do feel like failures.
Yeah.
When we don't succeed or we're not perfect.
Exactly. And it's really a powerful way to build resilience.
Resilient.
Yeah, when we anticipate the negative, we're essentially training our brains to stay calm and focused when things get tough.
This is so good. Okay, I'm definitely adding this to my
Mental toolkit.
my mental toolkit. Anticipating the negative.
It's a good one.
Okay, what about detaching from outcomes?
Oh, yeah.
I know this is something he talks a lot about,
Yeah, he does.
but I'm still a little fuzzy on how we actually do that. Like, what does that actually look like?
So detachment is about separating our self-worth from the results of our actions.
Okay.
It's not about giving up
Okay.
or not caring. It's about focusing on what we can control.
And what can we control?
Our actions,
Okay.
our effort, our attitude.
So showing up and doing the work,
Yes.
even if we don't see those results right away
Exactly.
or get that recognition that we're craving, it's about trusting the process.
Trusting the process. I love that.
Yeah.
It's about enjoying the journey and finding fulfillment in the act of creating, learning, and growing.
It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Exactly.
I love this. So it's almost like we're giving ourselves permission to just let go of all that pressure,
Yeah.
all that self-judgment,
Yeah.
and just focus on doing the next right thing.
It's about surrendering to the present moment and trusting that consistent action, even when it feels uncertain, will eventually lead to the results that you desire.
This feels so liberating.
It is liberating.
To just be present and not worry about the future.
Absolutely. It's about releasing that need for control,
Mm.
embracing the unknown, and trusting the journey.
Oh, I love that. This has been such an insightful conversation
Yeah.
already, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have.
And motivation.
There's so much more to unpack.
I can't wait to dive in.
Me too.
More of his wisdom.
He's got a lot to share
He does.
about overcoming self-sabotage
Yeah,
and unlocking our true potential.
he does.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Really fascinating stuff.
It is, and I think so helpful for all of us.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to keep going.
Me too. You know, it's fascinating how Dr. K talks about feeling stuck.
Yeah.
He says it's not about a lack of motivation,
Okay.
but rather we're super motivated to avoid something,
To avoid something.
like discomfort, pain,
Yeah.
or the big F word, failure.
Failure.
We're motivated to avoid it.
Oh, that's so true.
Isn't it?
We stay in our comfort zones even when they're not that comfortable.
Right.
Like we're motivated to avoid the discomfort of change.
Exactly.
Even if it means more suffering in the long run.
It's like we're running away from something
We are.
instead of running towards something.
Yeah. And he says the key to breaking free is awareness.
Awareness.
And he talks about some research on the anterior cingulate cortex,
Oh, yeah.
that part of the brain that's like our conflict monitor.
Well, conflict.
I thought that was so interesting.
It's what we experience as willpower.
So willpower isn't about silencing all those conflicting thoughts and desires.
Right.
It's about being present with the struggle.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
And the more we practice staying present with those tough feelings, the stronger our willpower gets.
It's like a muscle.
It is. It's like a muscle. You got to work it out.
Yeah. So the more we use it,
Right.
the stronger it becomes.
Exactly.
And he uses this analogy of an ice bath,
Oh, yeah, the ice bath.
which I thought was so interesting.
He loves his ice bath.
I know, even though he hates it.
He hates it.
But he says that the battle starts way before he even gets near the water.
Right. It's all in his head.
Yeah. But by staying present with the discomfort and just noticing those thoughts and feelings
Without judgment.
without judgment,
Yeah,
he strengthens his willpower.
he does.
That's so interesting.
And I bet the more he does it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Not because the discomfort goes away, but because he can handle it better.
His capacity grows.
Exactly.
So it's not about effortlessness or finding endless motivation.
Right.
It's about building that resilience
Resilience. That's the key.
to just show up and do the work, even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, that's when it matters most.
So this is making me rethink my whole relationship with motivation.
Yeah.
Because it's not about waiting for the perfect mood,
Right.
or the perfect time,
It's about showing up consistently.
even when you don't feel like it.
Even when you don't feel like it, that's the secret sauce.
But how do we cultivate that consistency?
Well, Dr. K says one of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking about our goals in terms of every day.
Every day, really.
Yeah, we get so caught up in building these perfect daily habits
Right.
that we set ourselves up for failure.
Okay. I thought consistency was all about daily routines.
It's not that daily habits are bad.
Okay.
It's the pressure we put on ourselves.
the pressure.
Like if we miss a day, we feel like we've totally blown it.
Right, and then we give up.
Exactly. And that can crush our motivation.
So instead of aiming for perfection, we should focus on each action
Yes.
one day at a time.
One day at a time.
So instead of saying, I'm going to meditate every day,
Right.
I'm going to meditate today.
Exactly. You shift your focus from this big long-term goal to this small action you can take right now.
It feels much more manageable.
It does, doesn't it?
It does. And that idea of detachment,
Yes, detached.
if we let go of needing to control the outcome,
Right.
then we're freeing ourselves from the fear of failure.
Absolutely. You're no longer attaching your self-worth to hitting some arbitrary goal.
This is so freeing
It is. It is.
to experiment, to make mistakes.
And to learn without judgment.
Without judgment. And that's where real growth happens.
That's where the magic happens.
When we're not afraid to stumble,
Right.
we're more likely to try new things.
To push ourselves outside of those comfort zones.
I'm thinking of all the times I held myself back from something I was really passionate about
Yeah.
because I was afraid of not being good enough.
It's the fear that holds us back.
It is. And Dr. K says the biggest mistake we make is believing our shortcomings are real and insurmountable.
It's like we put them in this box
We do.
and we say, this is who I am. And we forget about what we can control.
What can we control?
How we respond to challenges.
He had that great line.
Which one?
You can't control if you get into medical school,
Oh, yeah.
but you can control whether you beat yourself up for not getting in.
That's so powerful.
It is. It's like shifting our focus
From what we can't control.
to what we can.
And that's where the power lies.
That's true empowerment,
true empowerment.
choosing how we react to those curveballs.
Life throws a lot of curveballs.
It does.
But we can decide if they define us.
Or if we use them as opportunities for growth.
Opportunities, yes, and self-discovery.
It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress.
We are. We are all perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect on this journey.
Of learning and growing.
And we're all in this together.
We are all connected.
We are. So it's about embracing our humanity.
Our messy, beautiful humanity.
With all its imperfections.
And knowing that our struggles don't make us any less worthy. They actually make us stronger.
They do.
More compassionate.
More connected to others.
Who are going through their own stuff.
Exactly. We've all got our stuff.
And by focusing on our actions,
not the outcomes.
We break free from perfectionism.
And we create space for joy.
Joy.
Creativity and fulfillment. I love that.
It's about enjoying the process.
Not just chasing some definition of success.
Some external definition that doesn't even resonate with us.
Right? Finding meaning in the journey.
The journey itself.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
I feel like I have a new understanding of how my brain works.
That's amazing.
I do, and how to work with it.
Not against it.
Not against it.
That's the key.
It's those little shifts in perspective.
Little shifts.
That make all the difference.
They really do.
And I feel like he's given us so many great tools.
So many tools.
To add to our mental toolkit.
Our mental toolkit is overflowing.
It is. It is. And before we wrap up.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your final thoughts.
Sure.
On how we can take these insights and apply them to our own lives. Where do we even begin?
Well, it all comes down to three things. Awareness, acceptance, and action.
Okay. Awareness, acceptance, and action.
Yeah. Start by just paying attention to that voice inside your head.
Okay.
Notice those moments of resistance.
Yeah.
Those negative thoughts and feelings that tend to hold you back.
Instead of trying to ignore them or suppress them.
Right. Just meet them with curiosity.
Curiosity.
And compassion.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, like, hey, what's going on here? Yeah. And ask yourself some questions.
Okay, what kind of questions?
Like, what's driving this resistance? What am I really afraid of? What's the worst that could happen?
Wow.
And by getting curious about those obstacles, you can start to unravel them.
Those limiting beliefs.
The fears, the things that are keeping us stuck.
And once we have some clarity.
Yes.
Then it's time for action.
Action.
But not from a place of force.
Right.
But from a place of self-compassion.
Self-compassion, yeah.
And understanding. Okay, so we're not forcing ourselves to do things we hate.
No, no.
But choosing actions that are aligned with our values.
Aligned with your values.
And move us closer to a life we love.
A life you love. That's the goal.
So start with one small action.
One small action.
Today.
You did.
That feels manageable.
Manageable, yes.
And don't forget to anticipate those moments of discomfort.
The resistance is going to be there.
It is. It is.
So be prepared.
So we're prepared, and then...
And that was the last one.
Dwell on the positive outcomes.
Dwell on the positive outcomes.
Yeah, let your brain savor those feelings of accomplishment.
Ooh, I like that.
Joy and gratitude.
Gratitude.
No matter how small they seem.
Because those positive emotions, they're like fuel.
They are. They fuel our motivation.
Yeah.
And they remind us what we're capable of.
We're rewiring our brains for success.
One small action.
One small action.
One mindful reflection.
At a time.
At a time.
It's really all about those little shifts in perspective, isn't it?
That make a huge difference.
Yeah, those little shifts can have a big impact.
They do. They do.
You know, one of the most powerful takeaways from Dr. K, for me at least, is this simple but profound reminder.
Okay.
The real tragedy isn't that we have shortcomings.
Okay.
It's that we believe those shortcomings define us.
Oh, that we let them have power over us.
Yeah, we give them so much power over our lives.
Yeah.
We let them dictate our choices
Yeah.
and hold us back from going after our dreams.
It's like we become our own worst enemy.
We do.
We're stuck in that cycle of negative self-talk and judgment.
Yeah, that inner critic can be so loud.
It can be so loud, but he reminds us that we have a choice.
We always have a choice.
We do.
We can either focus on what we think are our limitations,
Right.
or we can focus on our strengths, our resilience, our ability to grow.
And that shift in focus can make all the difference.
It really can.
It's about remembering that we're all a work in progress.
Always a work in progress.
Right.
Always evolving.
Perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect.
On this journey.
Of learning and growing.
And you know what? It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's a beautiful mess.
It is. It's embracing our humanity.
With all its imperfections.
Yes, and recognizing that our struggles, they don't diminish our worth.
No, they don't.
They actually make us stronger.
They do. They make us stronger, more compassionate,
Yes.
more connected to other people.
We're going through their own things.
Everyone's got their own stuff.
We do.
And, by focusing on our actions,
Yeah.
not the outcomes,
Right.
we can break free from perfectionism
Yeah.
and create space for joy, creativity, and fulfillment.
And just enjoying the ride.
Enjoying the ride, exactly.
Not just the destination.
It's all about the journey.
This has been so inspiring
It has.
and empowering.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of how my brain works.
I'm so glad.
I do. And a renewed sense of hope and possibility.
That's beautiful.
It is. It is. And it's not about these overnight transformations.
Right.
Or these radical overhauls.
No, it's about those small steps taken consistently
That's this thing.
with self-awareness,
Self-awareness.
compassion for ourselves,
Self-compassion.
and a willingness to embrace the journey, even when it's messy.
Embrace the mess.
Embrace the mess.
I love that.
It's all part of it.
It is. So I want to ask you, dear listener,
Yes.
what area of your life are you feeling inspired to approach
Oh, I love that question.
with this new understanding of motivation?
Yeah. What are you going to tackle?
Is there a goal you've been putting off?
A dream you've been too scared to chase.
A habit you want to change?
Remember, you don't have to wait for motivation to hit you like a bolt of lightning.
You don't?
You can choose to act,
Even when you don't feel like it.
even when you don't feel like it. And trust me, the motivation will follow.
The motivation will follow.
It will,
And as you take those actions,
no matter how small.
remember to dwell on the positive outcomes
Savor those feelings.
of accomplishment, of joy, of gratitude.
Gratitude.
Let them fuel your spirit.
Yes.
Remind you of what you're truly capable of.
You are capable of amazing things.
And the world needs your gifts.
The world needs you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into motivation.
It's been a pleasure.
If you found this episode helpful,
We would love it.
if you would like, share, and subscribe to Mindful Health Harbor
And be sure to check back next week
for another fascinating exploration.
with topics that matter.
Until then, keep diving deep and keep shining bright